Being 15 and hearing this and just thinking, well, this is insanity, and everybody's cheering it. What else have I absorbed that's insanity? I was more interested in chasing girls than chasing the Christian purity ethics. It slowly went from, I'm not sure about this and I don't want anything to do with it, to I'm actively opposed to this. And that's whenever I realized, well, I guess I'm atheist. Immediately, a split second after that, pardon my French, but my thought was, damn it, what have I done? So I'm an engineer right now at a large tech company here in the outskirts of Houston, Texas. For my educational background, I went to Texas A&M. I studied nuclear engineering or radiological health engineering. It's about 6 credit hours different from nuclear engineering. And then I got a master's degree in health physics, which is like a radiation safety physics field. I think it would have been weird for somebody to be non-religious where I grew up. So it was just kind of an accepted part of our surroundings. And that included in my home. You know, we went street preaching at this county fair, I think. We had like a church booth and people would walk by and we'd hit them with a zinger. Like, if you died right now, are you 100% sure you go to heaven? That kind of thing. And, you know, like most people, they would just kind of politely brush us aside and be like, yeah, I believe in God. Leave me alone. I just want to eat my corn dog. It was a horrible experience for me because nobody cared. And I just wanted people to care so bad. Next morning, one of the prominent leaders in the church went up in the pulpit and gave a testimony. And she said, on the way to church this morning, God spoke to me and said that we saved 359 souls last night. And I was like, I think there were maybe 200 people there tops, you know, right. In my head. Like, nothing adds up with reality, what you're saying. But the whole church, the whole congregation, even the people that were there and witnessed it, started clapping and cheering. And it was this really discordant moment where I'm buying heavily into something that I'm not really getting for myself from scriptures. I'm absorbing it from these people around me. And they're willing to believe something that, at least to me at the time, seemed to be such a blatant and obvious lie. Craziness, right? And I really felt my faith shaken by that.
Yes.
Now, you know, looking back on it, you know, I remember being 15 and hearing this and just thinking, well, this is insanity, and everybody's cheering it. What else have I absorbed that's insanity? I guess I sat with it for a while. You know, the timeline is fuzzy to me. I don't remember details strung out on a timeline perfectly, but when all this was happening, and, you know, at that age, you're growing and you're starting to think for yourself a little more and think critically a little more. I also started hanging out with some friends who did not behave Christianly. I don't know how you'd say that. Just, you know, we separate in our heads Christian behavior and Christian thought from worldly or secular behavior and thought. And these people didn't behave as if God existed. They didn't behave as if the gospel was calling them to act in a certain way. And I was really attracted to a secular lifestyle. You know, it says in scripture that when you were free from righteousness, you were slaves to sin. I really liked being the free from righteousness part, because then I didn't have to censor or change how I acted, and I got to act however I want. And that was whenever, you know, I would rather go hang out with my girlfriend or my friends Saturday night and stay up too late than get up and go to church early in the morning and play in the worship band or partake in church at all. And you know, my church attendance started to decline, and I just kind of slipped away from that life. There was a separation point. I was more interested in chasing girls than chasing the Christian purity ethics. For the rest of high school and then early in college, I just didn't want to think about it. It was a non-issue to me. I think I harbored some resentment, or maybe I just, you know, I remember I don't know if it was an age thing or a that time and history thing, but shock humor was like all the rage. And I just remember thinking it was funny to say anti-religious or blasphemous things to people now that I didn't feel like those were sins. I didn't feel beholden to not being able to say those things, and people would get shocked, and that was funny to me. So I became, I guess, anti-religious. And then in college, whenever I started to think more and more about it, I guess I bought into the very commonly propagated thing that, you know, science has all the answers. Scientism. Why would I seek beyond science what we can objectively know? And like you said earlier, I've got a very STEM background. That just made sense to me. And at that point, I was just kind of mean. Like I was scornful of Christianity, which is something I've heard, in your interviews quite a bit from guests. But you go through this period of just believing it's all just garbage. I would mock friends thinking it was funny to them. And to their credit, none of them ever really took the bait and got mad at me. They were just kind of like, whatever, dude. I don't think I convinced anybody either. But it slowly went from, I'm not sure about this and I don't want anything to do with it, to I am actively opposed to this. And that's whenever I realized, well, I guess I'm atheist. Somebody says they believe in God and you kind of look at them funny, like, why do you feel the need to believe that? In the end, with that worldview, everything's random, everything's pointless. I'm pointless. Everybody I know and love is pointless. It's I would feel very existential about things quite often, and over time it's weird. I had this lack of concern about God in the beginning. It turned into like this fiery scorn for all things Christianity. And over time it would wane, and I would think like, man, I wish I could pray right now. I miss prayer. I'm like, wait, prayer's dumb. I can't pray. It's pointless. I've got two beautiful young boys. I've got everything I could ask for materially. And sometimes I'd be washing dishes at night. I'd be looking out over my house. Everybody's peaceful and fed and the bills are paid and all this, and everybody's asleep. And I would have every reason materially by my own worldview to be content and happy. And I would just feel dread and feel broken. I wouldn't know where it came from. I wouldn't have an explanation for that. My anti-religious scorn slowly dulled over time. I actually found myself having like a positive view of Christians over the course of the 10 to 15 years I went through this arc, being envious of them. Like I said, wishing I could pray about things, wishing I had hope. And I found myself, instead of wanting to mock religion, I actually envied people who could believe it. And I would not want to convert them away from it, because why would I want to take that beautiful thing away from somebody? The only time she was absolutely resolute was she came to me once and said, our boys are going to be baptized. And she said it in a way that was like, I couldn't argue with it. We're surrounded by people we love. It's a very small, intimate setting. And the guy who's doing the baptism is doing this ritual, and he's got a bowl of water, and he's running his hands through it. He's saying some beautiful words. I don't even remember what they are. But he came over, and before he did it, there was a part that I wasn't prepared for. And he said, I don't remember the exact words. I'm going to paraphrase. It was basically, we're doing this as a sign that you are going to lead your children in a life that follows Christ. And to do that, you must do the same. Will you do that? And I said, I will. And immediately, a split second after that, pardon my French, but my thought was, damn it, what have I done? Because I don't want to say that, but I just said it. I can't be a liar. I wasn't, amoral, completely willing to just live with a lie that I'd spoken plainly in front of all these loved ones.
I bet your wife was a little bit stunned.
I don't know in that moment what she felt. I should ask her.
Or surprised at least, yeah.
But surprised, I'm sure. I'm sure she thought I was just going along to get along and not cause a scene. I had this picture in my head of, whenever I felt like my whole foundation of all my belief had been shaken by those experiences whenever I was younger. Which now, if I look at it with a fair view, like you said, I could have asked people about it. I could have reconciled all that. None of these people set out to harm me. Maybe they made mistakes, but we all make mistakes. That's the whole point of Jesus, right? But I felt like my faith had been so shaken long ago, and I became scornful. And then that slow decline in my scorn towards Christianity and my growing acceptance of it and jealousy of people who were Christians. I think whenever I was in that chapel, I still pictured that I had this fortress built around me, this impenetrable, logical fortress where nobody can penetrate it. I'm a safe little atheist in here. Keep your God out, whatever. It wasn't like a moment where the walls came tumbling down and God was there and angels sang and, the light blinded me. It was it was like God had been there the whole time with a little chisel. And every now and then in my life, I would feel something that felt like a little hammer strike on just one little rock. And I'd hear tink, and I'd be like, oh, and that would be it. And I realized, man, over the last 10, 15 years, God had dismantled that fortress I'd built up around me without me realizing it. So then all he had to do to get me back was, Jesus could just show up and be like, will you follow me? And I would just say yes. I'd be powerless against it. And I know that's kind of from a STEM person who based his worldview on such a logical, objective, science-driven reasoning. This line of thought to me is kind of alien. Like, I'm saying weird woo-woo Christian things now that a year ago I would have been like, that's just weird talk. But I don't know how else to describe it. There's no other way to describe it, I don't think.